Well, all right, kiddos, it's time to sharpen up those edges and grease up your chains. We are going to live it up with mountain life. Dropping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, mountain lifers, mountain lovers and winter glovers, alpine trekkers and house party wreckers, snow cavers and day ravers? Okay, that's enough. This is Live It Up with Mountain Life. I'm Feet Banks. And if my voice sounds a little shot, it's because we are putting together the fall and winter issues of the magazines right now, and it is full speed ahead. But bear with me. We're going to try and eke out the last few rays of summer sun this month on the pod, because we're still in a bluebird drought out here on the West Coast. No precip, forest fires in what's coming up now into late October. So that seems normal, doesn't it? What is normal? Yeah, I know. It's hard to say in the scope of geological time, sure. But in my lifetime, not this. Anyhow, we're keeping those sunny day vibes going, and we're talking to Sarah Jane Dobner, a rock climber from the old country, the good old United Kingdom. Sarah Jane has a book out called A Feeling for Rock, and it won the Climbing Literature Award at the Banff Mountain Book Competition in 2021. Sarah and I had a great chat, but before we get into that, let's hear from our partners this month, Jack Wolfskin, makers of sustainable outdoor clothing, gear, and footwear. For almost 40 years, the Jack Wolfskin name and paw print have been a symbol of their trailblazing spirit and regard for nature. Inspired by an expedition in northern Canada back in 1981, they have led the pack with innovative, eco-conscious technologies, a commitment to social responsibility, and forward-thinking outdoor apparel and equipment designs. If you haven't seen the Jack Wolfskin paw print around before, it's because they've only just completed their newest den here in North America. Jack Wolfskin will see you in the wild, wherever that is for you. All right, good to have Jack Wolfskin on board. Did you know they make more than just clothing? Check out their base camp dome tent if you want to get serious. 4 entrances, sleeps up to 10 people. Speaking of gear, are you ready for the snow? How's your gear holding up? I dug into some crazy numbers earlier this month about just how much clothing we, the collective we, all of humanity, purchases each year. It's 60 million tons, according to an article in the journal Nature, which is crazy, except that according to another study, we throw 50 million garments away within 1 year of purchase. So yeah, there's a bit of a difference between garments and tons. It takes a lot of garments to make up a ton, but still, 50 million t-shirts and socks is still a crop load of waste. So break out the duct tape, give your old gear another kick at the can this winter. Save yourself some money, who doesn't like that? Save the planet. Or even better, if you bought your gear from a reputable company, most of them will repair it or give you tips on how to make it last longer, or even take it back and repurpose it if it can't be salvaged. So ask about that kind of thing if you're buying new stuff. Look into it if you have old stuff. The good companies are doing it. Don't give your money to companies that aren't, We're kind of at the stage in the game where you got to make those choices. 50 million garments a year is just way too much. One group of people known for stretching out the lifespan of their gear is rock climbers. Today we get to meet Sarah Jane Dobner, author, rock climber, part-time van lifer, mom, and all-around lovely person to chat to. Sarah Jane's book is called A Feeling for Rock, and it's a collection of stories, poems, essays, technique tips, and musings on the climbing life and on being a woman in the climbing culture. Sarah Jane rips the finger tape off all the emotions that come with a life dedicated to the pursuit of putting one hand on a piece of stone, then another, and giving her. And using the legs. Don't forget the legs. The book is a fresh perspective and a nice cerebral window into the sport. I reached Sarah Jane at her friend's house somewhere in the UK because the friend had better Wi-Fi and we had to do this over Zoom. So let's do it. All right. I think I want to start off just with the start of your book, A Feeling for Rock. Page 3, you say rock is the earth's truth. And then you go on to talk about how rock is, made from torment, crushed, pressurized, carved by glaciers. So if rock is truth and rock is torment, does that mean life is pain?
There is a lot of pain, isn't there?
Yeah.
And it's about going with that. You can't fight it. I have spent my life fighting pain like we do, but it is what it is, and it's involved. That's part of life, isn't it? That's a very Buddhist thing, I think, isn't it? Life is suffering.
Well,
And
I
I
feel
remember hearing that when I was young and being like, "You're
Britain
crazy.
sold
Life is fun."
Britain soldiers on, right? Like it's part of the culture. I think that it's a grind, and we're going to keep going.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, back to that Buddhist thing. I just didn't understand it.
Right.
I came across, traveled a lot in Asia when I was young, in my 20s. I just headed off on my own on one-way tickets, and I didn't understand it. But I guess that's because I came from England and a lot of privilege. Like,
Yeah.
what? What do you mean life is suffering? What are you talking about? It's fun. But I suppose, if you ask the Rock, I mean, how can we ask the Rock? We hang out with the Rock. You try and have some sort of dynamic with it, because even despite all that suffering, it spends so much of its time hanging out in the sunshine and like putting on a big snow hat.
That's what you say. It stands tall despite what it's been through,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
then a bunch of kids come and spray paint crudely renders penises on it.
I don't think it minds, honestly. The Rock has a sense of humor.
I think so too. I hope so. It's a fascinating book. Is this your first book, or have you written like a bunch of columns? It seems like it's a collection of short pieces. Did this come from columns or?
Yeah, some of it is. Columns makes it sound like something sensible and regular.
Right.
I'd say it's more like a scrapbook.
Right.
So I'd published art. Yeah, it was a scrapbook. So by the time I pulled it together, I'd procrastinated for many years. And by the time I procrastinated sufficiently, there was quite a lot of material. There was like, half, 2/3 of the material, 3/4 of the material was there. So the first thing I did when I ran out of excuses was to put together all the creative things I'd made around rock.
But I'm sorry, can we go back to that question? Because I missed a lot of it. Just, how with your writing, how did it come together, this book?
So it had been fermenting. With I guess I produce art. I produce stuff according to demand. It's very kind of emotionally driven, I guess,
Right.
in some ways, of having to produce art. And by the time I came to pull it together, I'd been making stuff about climbing for many years. So there was this weaving I was talking about just now, all this stuff that I really loved and didn't want to bin, even though it was a bit old and obsolete, but I loved it. So I wove it together into something out of adoration. And I'd written, the odd article that had been published. I'd done a whole bunch of cartoons. There was just a whole collection of stuff. I found bits on my computer which were called sort of, a chapter from over 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And there's poetry in there.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the poetry came later. That was one of the things I did last year, or the year before it was published, because I had little vignettes, like paragraphs. And by the time I put the book together, I was like, both visually and just in terms of variety, they would be better as poetry. Poetry
Was this
the book was published.
Was this a COVID project where, the world closed down and you really poured into this, or had this book been boiling on the back burner for a while?
Well, it boiled on the back burner for a decade, but I was actually working on it for real before COVID hit. And then COVID hit, so I was like, well, I'll just crack on. This is something to do. That's quite useful because it was such a weird time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, page 3, you write, "We could die at any second. We breathe air. It is beautiful." Did you always feel this way, or did this realization come to grow as you got more and more into climbing? Like, when did you start climbing?
I took up climbing late. I was, I think I was 30.
Right.
That's pretty late, isn't it? But
Yeah.
I have to say, as an adult, those 10 years between from 18 to 30, I would describe myself as fairly random, lost mess in a certain way. I needed climbing, and I found it, and I was like, oh, thank God.
What were you doing during those lost years? Just kind of running around with like a chicken with no head, or?
Yeah, I did that. So I spent all these years in Asia, on my own, on one-way tickets, just literally looking for the meaning of life. was very unfashionable. No one else I knew was doing that, but I was like, what is the meaning of, why do we bother? You know, why are we here? Why are people getting jobs? Why are they living in houses? Like, why is
Yeah.
anyone getting up in the morning and brushing their teeth? I just didn't get it. I didn't get it, what people were doing. And so I just sort of traveled around and thought about stuff and looked at people and talked to people. And I think that early exposure to lots of different cultures means that it really wipes out this idea that there's one way of doing things or a correct way of doing things. There's many ways of doing things.
And was that the answer you found on your decade of travels, or did you actually find the meaning of life?
I think the answer I found, it was that there is no meaning, and it's just what you put into it.
Perfect. And then so
then
then you got into climbing, which, you know, there's a good parallel there.
Well, yeah, it kind of applies to everything. I did have other things too. I had a child and, you know, did a few other things. But yeah, then when I found climbing, it was the first time I found a community as well. I found a community, I found locations, landscapes I didn't know existed, a way of movement, a place of solitude that was amazing. Like a place of, it was just brilliant. And I still feel that way about climbing. You know, I just think it's been such a savior for me, and a safe place, and a brilliant place.
Fantastic.
And a fun place.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it is that sort of, there's no real reason to climb up this rock again and again and again, right?
No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, you know, you talk about meditation in the book and how it's, you sold me right away. Meditation is deathly dull, page 3.
You know.
But climbing can be meditation. So can needlepoint or hiking 45 kilometers or, you know.
Exactly.
So
even though I'm very enthused about climbing, climbing's the thing for me. I'm not, what's the word? I don't care what people's passions are. It's almost like I'm more into passion. Yeah, if someone's into needlepoint or they're into, you know, train spotting, or I don't care what it is. Just if people are passionate about something, I do find that very I don't know, it's heartwarming, isn't it? It's just fun. I love that thing about a passion. It wakens people up, and they have something to share.
You can see it in people's eyes when you meet them, right? If they're tapped into their passion, there's a light there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun. And particularly, I keep saying it's fun. Lots of things are fun. I should use more wider vocabulary.
Well, do you have lots of friends that don't climb then as well, or?
I do have friends that don't climb, but a lot of those are friends that I made through climbing. So for various reasons, they've given up climbing. So the great mainstay of my friends has something to do with climbing now.
And you came to it late. How did you get into climbing then? You know, 30 years old, you just been traveling around the world, looking for the secrets of it all. And then all of a sudden, did somebody take you to a rock, or did it pique your interest some other way?
Yeah. No, someone took me to a rock. That's one of the chapters, actually, being introduced to that. It was a boyfriend, which is a very kind of, I don't know, stereotypical way to be taken, I guess. And I was really frightened. Because I was scared of heights.
Yeah.
So I'd had friends who were climbers for years, but I was a bit like, well, obviously I can't climb because I'm scared of heights. And then I started going out with him, and he looked at me like I was mad and went, everyone's scared of heights.
Yeah. And do you find there's a difference? Like, I don't, for me personally, like I get really sketched out at the top of a ladder, but on a rock climb, I don't have that same feeling. I don't know if it's the need to focus more, or the fact that there is a rope and some even if it's
ladders move. Ladders do that bouncy thing that isn't okay.
Yeah. The rock doesn't move. Hopefully.
No. Or if it does, you should worry a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think our instinct that anything that moves underfoot is you got to be off of that thing.
Totally. One of the things I like, I mean, this book is, you know, there's a lot of climbing books that are about the adventure and about, you know, the destinations that people go, but this one, you know, there's a lot more of a cerebral internal vibe to it, which I really appreciated. One of the chapters, or the ideas that stuck out for me was the idea of doing less, right? And as it applies to climbing, what does that mean for you, doing less?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's interesting because it's so against the kind of cultural message.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of stuff about try hard and training and so quite a lot. You can see that going through the book, this quite sort of tongue-in-cheek
Yeah.
quality of some, and the doing less is true, is an aspect of that is, if you relax more and rest more and use less with your handholds, bridge more, just use your body with more kindness and more efficiency and more elegance, you just don't need to work as hard.
Yeah.
And that's just the physical side, and then you've got the emotional side, you've got the busy mind side, you've got the, oh, I don't even, all that kind of, I don't know, I don't get into that, but the end gaining of the result side, people want a grade, they want to tick, and I'm like, oh, is that helpful? Or is it helpful to just be on the rock and touching it and enjoying the move and being present?
And then of course all those things you just talked about, bleed over and can bleed over into all aspects of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because that's it, because rock climb, for who of us is rock climbing a sport that we do on a Tuesday at 6 o'clock? It just isn't, is it? It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it definitely, especially if you want to progress, right? I feel like there's
and then there's the thing about progress, isn't there?
Well, I mean, wanting to do better with something that you're passionate about, I feel like is a normal human thing.
Yeah.
Right. But I know from personal experience, like if you're only climbing on the weekends, you're going to hit a ceiling. Most people anyhow. Right. If you want to really get up there and perform, you got to dedicate more time. I imagine that's the same with playing guitar or anything. Right. But,
yeah, the 10,000 hours or whatever. Yeah, there is an aspect of that, isn't it? But I don't know. I guess partly I was coming from that idea that you just driven to do something because you love it, and that's a slightly different swing from the well, you have to train more in order to be better.
Yeah.
That one of the questions in it is why get better, and
right.
I think that's a really valid question, because it's like this, I don't know, capitalist, post neo-capitalist world of constant growth. It's not feasible. For most of us, it's just not feasible after 10, 20 years of climbing to get better. It's not feasible. So having that, there has to be a different model culturally, other than keep training to get better. It doesn't, it's impossible. It's a trick. It becomes nonsense. But what you can do, there's alternatives. All I'm putting out is alternatives, is that you can get a richer, deeper, more nuanced, more joyful, more integrated, more flowy. There's lots of other places you can go with the dynamic with the rock that aren't called getting better, or aren't called progress, or aren't gradable.
Right.
I'm kind of interested in things that aren't measurable and that have been like overlooked or undervalued, because I think they're really important and they're there, like the touch. I'm really into that physical touch of the rock. I've never heard anyone talk about the touch of the rock, and I'm like, what? This is such an intense part of my experience, is that physical haptic touch of the rock, but it's unspoken. People don't talk about it.
Yeah, and I mean that's the cover of your book, is this extreme close up of, one single fingertip and part of a hand on a rock.
Yeah, and a lot of the pictures of that close up, aren't they? They're on that touch level.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of fingers and hands in your book.
I also like that idea that there are these close up pictures of different types of rock type, and actually I think, I might be wrong, but I think the only finger in hand. So I'm glad you said that, because I think the only picture of fingers in hand is the cover. And then afterwards, I was like, surely I should have had more. And
no,
like,
there is one of
two
pieces of rock and some taped up fingers. Page 100,
yeah.
page 129. But you're right. That happens to be the page I flipped open to. There are
That's true. That's when I broke my finger playing basketball with my brother.
I think for a lot of people, one of the joys of rock climbing is it gives them a chance to, like you did when you were younger, but without climbing, but to go to places and see the world. And you get to these places and there's already a built-in sort of culture that you can integrate into, which is the climbing culture of,
Yes.
somewhere in California or here in Squamish or Thailand. Do you did a lot of traveling before climbing? Is that a part of your climbing life to go to these foreign countries?
Yes. Yeah. And traveling Britain, also traveling places I've never been. I have, I'm about to go this winter. I'm going to go to a crag I've been meaning to go to for years and years in Australia called the Rappellees.
And so
really,
obviously,
and I've spent some time in the Southwest Deserts, actually. I've climbed in the States, really, really keen on coming up to Squamish. Mad keen on coming to Squamish. Yeah.
So obviously, you're older and wiser than you were when you first traveled around as a younger person, but do you travel differently now when you're traveling as a climber rather than before?
Yes, much safer and more. I'm calmer now, more focused. And so I had a trip for 2 or 3 months over to Spain a few years ago, just on my own in the van. And even though I was on my own and I was on some sort of different quest, so I wasn't really climbing very much. But I still went dot to dot to climbing locations, just like you're saying, because it meant I could park up, I could just be around climbers and every now and then join in some bouldering or whatever. But yeah, my trip went in between these sort of, climbing locations because that's where I belong.
Yeah. And this ties in a little bit to your concept of being somewhere versus conquering something, which we kind of touched on with the grading and all that. But do you think technology, I mean, it might be, it's probably less so for climbing than it is for something like skiing or snowboarding, where over here you can track every single day what runs you did, how many vertical, and add up how many vertical feet you've skied on the year, and really gamify this experience of going into the mountains when you're supposed to be seeking peace and solitude.
Gamify. What a brilliant phrase.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what it is, right? It's turning a natural experience into a digital one to me.
Yes.
That hasn't happened so much with climbing, or is that starting to creep in as well?
Quite a few of my friends are on those sort of apps, but I think you're right. They talk about it for running and biking.
Yeah,
they haven't really talked about. But then, see, I go running and do stuff, and I don't go on those apps, which probably won't come as a surprise to you.
No, I don't either. I never know if I'm getting better at running, and I also don't really care because
exactly, me too. So, but then that day I'll be like, oh, look at the clouds, or I'll be thinking about a line of poetry, or I'll be, looking around.
It's tough. I'm gonna get probably strung up for this, but there are these things where people will, we have the Sam Samik Squamish Chief here. I probably mispronounced the indigenous name, but we have the Squamish Chief, and you can hike up it, and people will hike up it every day, or I'm going to hike it up it, or it doesn't happen just here. It's all over the place. I'm going to hike up it 18 times in a day, and it'll be the equivalent of Everest. And I get kind of upset. Like, the point of being outside is not to rush through it.
Yes.
Right.
There you are. Yeah. Yeah, so you see a lot of the sort of, I do just scan really such a lot of the climbing press or climbing literature, because so much of it is about the first, the fastest, the highest, and then you start, like you say, when all those first ticks have been done, you do it 18 times, or you do this, and what is lost is the experience.
Yeah. Although I do feel like we're going to start seeing over here where a lot of these routes or mountains or first descents on skis, it's a big ski culture up here, but we'll get to see the first indigenous person to ski down this line in their own backyard. That's been an important part of their culture for thousands of years, but they've never had a chance to get up there because you need a helicopter or whatever. So I mean, those kind of firsts I'm actually I can get behind. That's cool.
Mm.
And you talk about
Yeah.
this a bit in the book with the root names and colonialism and patriarchy. And it does feel like there's quite a shift in the culture, even from 10 years, 5 years ago, towards
Well,
recognizing that sort of thing.
which is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like you say, that those things are important. They're so important. Yeah. And it's really, you know, because it's dealing with yourself, you know, having a look at your kind of media, and with BAMF as well before, is there's a lot of reference and acknowledgement of your First Peoples and the names and the kind of respect for those cultures. And yeah, that's coming in now.
Yeah.
As whereas it wasn't there before, was it? It's really nice to see.
And you wrote about it in this book, and also included the idea of, like, you know, root names that are old, but also are potentially punching down on people, or a bit sexist or racist sometimes. And of course, you know, you had plenty of online reaction to that. And
I did, didn't I?
you printed the negative ones, which I thought was brilliant.
Thank you.
I feel like nothing.
Did you have any favorites?
Well, yeah, I wish I had that page marked here, but those are, I don't know. I feel like, do you think if a man had written that column, that the negative feedback would have been different or less?
I can almost certainly say they wouldn't have had the slam down I had, and I can say that with certainty because I was speaking to the editors of the website of UKC, who were reporting back to me. They're like, you know, what you're getting now is pretty full on. I think I got the worst, but they're like, you know, whenever women print stuff, they'll get savaged in a way that men don't.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think after that, the aggression was so virulent to my articles. There are two things happened from that, which were amazing. They changed the moderation system on their website.
Right.
Because it was so unpleasant. There's no way women would print on the site.
Yeah.
After that, you know, it was like, I think after about 40 pages of vitriol, I think some nice guy had written, this bit bland nice guy, I think he was, had written, wow, is anyone else surprised by this reaction? And I looked through his page, and there's a one-word answer from the first time a woman got involved, and she was like, no. Correct.
Yeah. Totally. I did find my favorite of your cyber comments. My favorite is, it's like someone's kid being indulged and let loose at their parents' work.
What could be better? I mean, that's like praise, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that sounds like a great day, right? Like,
it's like, things. Why are you complaining?
But yes, and of course, like the you know, it feels like the majority of the comments are from a UK audience, so they're all a little bit more refined or better educated than the comments we have over here in the colonies.
I could have got worse.
No, it definitely gets worse when you get out here in the filthy colonies.
Oh no. Well, I'm glad I feel saved that.
I feel like if you really wanted to salvage what's left of civilization, step number one is just to turn off the ability to comment, right? Like, until we can fix whatever problem is making people feel that they can treat others like this, don't give them the forum.
Well, it worked out perfectly, really, because I guess, you know, the articles were, I knew that they were gonna, what's that thing where you kick the ant's nest or the bee's wasp's nest or something? I knew
poke the hornets.
Yeah, I guess they might do a bit of that. And that's exactly what happened. And so the things that happened was those guys got outed in a way or whatever. Right. You know, because people very much, there's that bit like, oh, climbing's not sexist. And it didn't take much, did it? You know, to be like, come on, look, it's here, it's just below the surface. And so that changed, hopefully on an ongoing basis, the moderation of how that site functions from now on. Yeah. And also, you know, UKC are a big publisher of guidebooks, and following those articles, obviously following kind of the Black Lives Matter as well, you know, massive other things. But this was the last straw, the last small straw, where they removed all the racist names on British root names.
And I mean, you pointed out, right, like language is fluid, you know, language changes, and nothing, you know, those names aren't etched in stone. So
Not always.
people should be open to, it's not like a lot of those, 50 years ago, somebody puts up a route name, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're an evil person that, has a bunch of people chained up in the basement that they torture with a cattle prod, right? It's just comes from a different time and place, and that's
so
okay, right?
Be updated.
But you can always update. We update. Christ, I update. It feels like I update my phone every 2 weeks, right? Why can't we update some other things?
And is that happening over in Canada too?
It is a discussion topic. I don't know that much movement has been on it. I'm not super tapped into the rock climbing press either. I do know that the Squamish Rock Climbing Facebook page is very active and quite humorous. And there's been definitely some discussions on there. And of course, some people have their, put their backs up, and other people jump in there, and it's a lot of to and fro, and it makes for a good read, up a good popcorn read when you're supposed to be doing something else.
Yeah, a good procrastination read. Yeah.
I don't know the public. So you worked in a climbing gym for how long? Is that something you still do, or that you?
I don't know. Yeah, I worked in the climbing gym for and I worked in several different ones around here. First as a sort of duty manager, then I got my instructor kind of tickets,
right? And
then I did some outdoor work. I did outdoor work with sort of groups. I did train, or I did, because I know a lot of people. I did go guiding a few times, and I absolutely hated it. There's one poem in there called Cabbage about how the whole nonsense of ridiculousness of climbing was completely ruined by attempting to go guiding, because it just wasn't funny anymore when you had people who weren't on an equal basis risking their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, somehow that was sort of slightly funny when you go out with your mates, when that's what you're doing. It's a ridiculous way to spend your time, and then it stopped being funny being a guide. So I literally went out as a guide about twice. And I was like, I know I've trained, but I'm not cut out for this at all.
So many things I want to come back to that, but is the general climbing public, you're on the front lines when you're doing that and working with the public. Is the climbing public better than the general public, or is the public just the public? Like,
I would like to generalize, but as I say, I only had about 1 or 2 clients.
Right.
I feel that's not enough.
But in the gym,
very nice people.
In the gym, are there like, those terrible people that somebody working a retail, at a cosmetics store would see?
Okay, so using that example, there's one small chapter called Clearing the Space.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. Now that is a phenomenon that I really notice. It's a very curious phenomenon, and it's very silent, but it happens so much to me that I notice it now. I'm like, oh, I did that again. Where there'll be like a bunch of, and it's usually, I mean, that's mean, isn't it? Saying people in retail. There's nothing wrong with retail. We need people in retail. But anyway, like a group of young guys, this is invariably from whatever background, and there's like a few of them, and they're having a nice time, and they're working a problem, and I'll come along, friendly or whatever, and I'll do something on the wall. I'll do a circuit, or I'll do that problem. And then by the time I've come down from a short problem, it's not roped, this is bouldering, they will all have disappeared. Right. And this happens over and over again. And it astonishes me how they must just all know, because there's not a chat, oh, should we move on?
Right.
They just dissipate. And I'm like, if an older guy had just done that problem, he would come down, and I'm pretty, I've seen them, they chat to him, oh, how did you do that? And it's amazing, chat. And I will absolutely manage to clear this. So I've got white hair, I'm obviously older, and I've just like burnt them off, and these problems is what it comes down to. And I think there's still some element where they can't process the fact they've just been burnt off by their grandmother. and I think there's something as well where something that if an older woman has done something, it is immediately devalued,
right? Or
so they just don't want to do it anymore.
They're embarrassed that they can't do it.
But so they're embarrassed is one thing, but I think the devaluing is a stronger subplot. So there's this thing in the Alps, wasn't there, where a fine day out for a lady or something, or where there is no mountain anymore because these, the first woman team has climbed it, therefore it's not even a mountain anymore.
Right. Wow.
So that nature of something being immediately devalued no, not even worth doing. You know, that's the nature of them slipping away like that. The problem is no longer worth doing because this older woman has done it. And that is a worrying, I find that slightly worrying, because a lot of young men, I absolutely love young men, are so not being rude, Pete, but young men are a lot better than older men in so many ways, you know, in terms of their kind of emotional access and literacy, you know.
Do you think part of that is just that young men haven't had to live and absorb this still hardly skewed the wrong direction culture, and so they're not as tainted?
Yeah, exactly. There's progress, you know. There's been progress over the last 50 years.
Yeah,
there definitely has in terms of feminism, and young men are brilliant, you know, or at least, and my daughter's 27, all the young men she knows are brilliant. This is what I mean. And also, you know, climbing. So there is that thing about clearing the space. That happens sometimes. And then other times I'll come down from the climb and some young man will come up to me and be like, oh my God, who are you? That was brilliant. You know, like, let's have a chat, you know. So it's you know, people are people. People are people. Yeah, a variety. But yeah,
I want to talk about gear just for a
notice.
second. You have some cartoons in there talking about, you know, belay devices and gree-grees, and in almost every cartoon somebody seems to hit the ground.
Correct.
Have you seen that happen a lot in the?
Oh my God, it's awful. So those cartoons I dug out when I put the book together, and I was really surprised how many there were.
Yeah.
Like, that's only a selection of them, because I was working as a duty manager and I couldn't believe the number of times people decked the length of the wall. Like, when you work in there, and there was much, you know, this was a few years ago, and they're just like, now the same walls are run so much better.
Right.
There's actual protocol and there's actual kind of support for the staff kind of thing, you know, whereas I was really horrified by I mean, people were falling the length of the wall.
Yeah.
And the noise it made when they hit the ground, and pretty much all those cartoons, I was there.
Right.
They actually happened. People said those things. And I wrote cartoons because I just couldn't, I needed to cope.
Yeah. There's a bit of a distance where you can, you know, it's a cartoon, so it's not as depressing.
But not as depressing. And it gives me ownership. There's quite a lot of things in my life where if I make art out of it, I gain some ownership. I haven't just been battered.
Right.
I've created something.
Yeah, the good summation of the reason people make art.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about it is, you know, the drawings are pretty rudimentary, but your ability
Rude? You don't like my stick drawings.
Yeah, but no, I was gonna say your ability to capture emotion on the faces is phenomenal, right? Considering
that's really nice.
there's almost nothing there, and I can really feel what this little cartoon person is feeling. So it's fantastic. Was that something you've done your whole life? You know, playing around with sketches and stuff?
Oh, really? No. That's what kind of like a kind of funny thing about my output is that there is absolutely no consistency. I'll suddenly be like, I've written a play, and I'm like, why have I written a play? That's ridiculous. And then I'll be like, oh my God, the last thing I found under my bed, because I'm clearing my room at the moment, is these set of, I absolutely love them, I'd forgotten I made them as well, they're quite big, they're like meters square, like ink drawings that I did on Tinder profiles. Having seen a few Tinder profiles, I was like, no, you must be kidding me. I just did these massive portraits. And then, so yeah, I never know what's going to come out. I never know what's going to come out, which is why it's ended up as this scrapbook format, because that's how my brain works, you know. So I won't do any cartoons, and suddenly, bam, all those cartoons came out. I'm like, where did they come from?
Yeah. And were you writing and stuff? Were you doing this as a child, whatever the creative process was? Or has this been something you've always done?
Yeah, I've always written and always done art. Right. Always, yeah. And I've always kept journals and, you know, just produce stuff, write stuff on scraps of paper.
Yeah. What was that like? You grew, like, did you have brothers and sisters? What did your folks do? Like, what was it like, young Sarah Jane?
So young Sarah Jane was quite lonely, and we had a big house with some fields, and I just like hung out in the fields, really.
Right.
And up trees and whatever. I did a lot of that, quite displaced. And displaced.
All those things.
It took me a long time to make friends and find my feet.
all those things that kids would do before everyone had a phone.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, that's right.
wander around in the bush.
Yeah. Literally, I just wandered around in the bush. But now, funnily enough, really close to my brother. I've got one brother, 18 months older, who lives in Kingston. So he's a Canadian now.
Oh,
He's been in there for decades now. So
well, there you go.
yeah,
Good.
one brother in Canada.
And did you guys have an outdoorsy family? Was there lots of, ventures out into the countryside when you were young?
No, no. The first time I went camping was when I was 30 and started climbing. And I couldn't believe how brilliant camping was. I was like, hold on. What? You get a tent and you can go camping every weekend. You can go away all the time. Why did no one tell me?
Right.
It was like a complete revelation. I didn't know the landscapes, like the camping. You could just travel all the time if you go camping. It doesn't cost anything.
No, it's the best. I
So
mean, it's,
brilliant.
some people hate it.
But I think it was suddenly that it made a lifestyle accessible and on not much money.
Yeah.
That was the thing. And what I did get from my upbringing, going back to that, but it was this land, the fields. So I was brought up in a village with these fields, and we'd go on holiday to the coast in Cornwall. So that gave me an absolute love of the sea and sea cliffs.
Right.
And even before I climbed, that landscape I knew was where I belonged.
Yeah. And now, have you? What's your camping setup? Is it totally dialed? Can you just basically grab one pack and be camping in 20 minutes?
I've got my van. I've got my very
right.
old van. So that is the picture of that in the book, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a vanner, really.
Van life. It's a big cultural movement.
It's so great. Because it is.
What about mountaineering? Yeah, there's not really, like, are you into the big, strap on a down suit, grab an ice axe and go for the top?
I think I might be quite into a bit of mountaineering. I went mountaineering once, but throughout my life I was amazingly anemic. It's remarkable I could stand up. I was super anemic, and I had no iron stores at all. So basically, I think that that thing you do with mountaineering, right, where you go up a bit and then come down.
Yeah,
so you
acclimatizing.
build all those red blood cells. I didn't have any iron stores, so basically, I would, after about 3,000 meters, I go into the death zone, and I can't build more hemoglobin. That's it. I'm just dying.
Right.
So yeah, 3,000. My experience is I've thrown up at 2,900 meters.
Right.
With altitude sickness. I went to Tualameen Meadow and I had to leave after 3 days because I hadn't slept a wink for 3 days. And that's also at 3,000 meters.
Yeah. So probably not going to make it to the top of K2.
No, which is gutting really, because I quite like a bit of slog sometimes. I thought I might quite like to try ski touring and stuff like that, but Britain, England is England. Skiing and snow don't really happen, but so no, that's why I haven't done mountaineering.
Right. Well, I think that's a pretty good reason. I mean, on the other hand, you can get the mountaineering experience on a 1,500 foot or 1,500 meter mountain, so it's even better.
Well, what I haven't done, because lots of people into mountain, there's Scottish mountains. Have you heard of Scottish mountains?
I have. I've never seen them.
No, they're legendary, aren't they? Because the weather's so awful, is what I've heard about them. And they're not high. I think they're desperate because the weather's so terrible and many other reasons. But I think they're here. They're here as part of Britain, and I haven't gone mountaineering. I don't know. I think I'd get a bit cold, and I don't know why I haven't gone.
It's definitely suffering.
I don't know.
Definitely suffering.
Too much suffering. Yeah, I think maybe I just like something a bit. I don't know.
So
I don't know.
This
maybe
book's
for the future.
This book's been out for over a year now.
It has.
And how's it been? Are you do you now live in a castle with a crocodile moat, and all your financial woes are gone?
What do you think?
I don't think any author has that experience, sadly.
No. Well, the silliness of this is I still don't have a publisher.
Right. So you had to
I don't have a
self-publish.
publisher. Yeah, so I kind of brought it out on a kind of I just did.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do, one thing after another. And then I won that prize at Banff, which was like bonkers, really. And yeah, I kind of publicized it for a year. Promotion, as we might have gathered, promotion is not my thing. Promotion, social media.
Well, hey, now, I mean, here you are right now on the Live It Up with Mountain Life podcast. So you're doing something.
I know. I think, well, basically, I kind of gave myself till last Christmas to do promotion. And then I just completely just dropped it for 6 months. I was like, this is killing me. It's just not, I'd prefer to, in a way, just move on and see what pops up next.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I prefer to be a creative rather than a marketing person. But on the other hand, I do like it as a book, and I still have to champion it sometimes. And I think what better way to champion it than having the odd chat with, with people who seem really nice.
I think the book, it could be a real inspiration. I feel like the fact that you've self-published is something that a lot of people think about doing, and a lot of people feel like they have stories to tell, and traditional publishing is a bit tricky to crack into at the best of times, and especially maybe nowadays. But I don't know. I feel like people would be interested to know that you can just do this and win a prize, and get some, at least get some people to connect to your book.
Yeah, I mean, that there's a lot of things that have been amazing. Like, I still have people email me out of the blue, and there's no email on there, or they connect through the website or whatever, just emailing me and telling me stories or thanking me for writing the book, which is very humbling, isn't it? And so you're right. I would really like to get it out there more. I would really like to have a publisher, which I know slightly goes against what you're saying is, well, maybe that's it. Just get it out. Get it out first. What I've done is buy myself a lottery ticket. I've put it out in the world. As soon as you get something out in the world, there's the potential that it gets picked up or distributed or something, because it's a thing now. I've got a thing. I've done a thing, which is, I'm really happy to have done a thing.
And you're a step ahead. You can walk into a publishing house and say, here it is, take it or leave it, rather than, hey, I've got an idea for a book, right? Like your idea is in physical form.
Yeah. They can have a flick through. Yeah.
Well, I know there's a piece we'll speak later, but I know there's a piece I want to steal from your book and pay you and run in our magazine. So,
I love that. Oh, just tell me which one. Which piece do you want?
I have to find it in the book here. It's it ends with something like, and that's kind of the point, isn't it? It's just a short piece about climbing. But
brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I would love that. I'd love to be in your magazine. I tell you what, as well, one time when I visit my brother, I'd really love to come out west. Can we go climbing?
Yes, it's been a while. I'm sure one of the things about having a child is they can't belay you for quite some time. So they're difficult to take climbing. And a lot of your other friends, don't want to climb with a 4 or 5 year old.
Yeah, you need a cohort of people well, funnily enough, I only started climbing when I was a single mother with an 18-month-old.
Right. And you got her done.
What I'm reading from you, Banks, is Banks, that's your surname, is that you're just not desperate enough. I was so desperate.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if I really wanted to go climbing with my child, I would have, right? And I did a few times. And but it's just one of those things where you get to the top of the bloody route and it's 8:45 on a Saturday morning and the sun is out. And you're just setting up the anchor for a top rope, which, it's been a few years, but it looks good to me. And you go to throw the rope over down to your kid, and there's someone leading the pitch that you didn't get there early enough, was what I was finding here in Seattle. And I just thought, I because I grew up in this area.
It's time to sap the joy of the whole experience, wasn't it?
And I mean, I grew up in this area, so whenever something gets way busier than it was when you were a kid, I think you have to really take a couple breaths for that, not to annoy the living piss out of you, right? Which I'm not always there every day sometimes. Yeah. And I mean, of course, you can imagine how the Indigenous must feel. If I feel that bad about some people coming up from Vancouver to climb, you can understand why they would be like, hey, listen, you guys. Yeah. This used to be really great. This used to be really great before you chucked that pulp mill in.
So true. Yeah, that is a really, there we are. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to end it just asking you, what's your favorite piece of climbing gear?
What a brilliant question. My own piece of gear that I have
Yeah. Or, I mean, dream piece that you don't have. I don't know, just a piece of gear that you're always really excited to see or use.
Well, okay, so the bit that came into my head was the nut key. God knows why. But I wrote that poem about a nut key as well,
Yeah,
didn't I?
you did. And I mean, I want to clarify, that's just the, I think we call it a nut tool, right? To get the nuts out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could read that poem, seeing as you brought this up.
Yeah. Well, if you have it on hand,
Like
you should
poems?
read it.
Yeah. All right, I could read that poem. Isn't that funny? I don't know. I just sort of let my mind go blank and see what went into it. And it was that one. It's basically the first piece of gear, isn't it? It's the bit where it all started. Okay,
Mhm.
here it is. It's called Divine Law. Like most novices starting out, had no possessions beyond boots, harness, chalk bag, helmet. Tied in, borrowed one item from the leader. He called it a furcler. Spanish Inquisition of a tool to prod cams, poke cracks, fiddle with wires, bash at hexes. Divine law, decreeing a point of pride, never to leave a piece of gear behind. The agony, cuticles bleeding, knuckles scuffed, wounds at the center of my palm, climbing stigmata. Head bowed over each nut, seconding to see if I had what it took to devote myself utterly. One piece of kit against a whole rack. Made a vow to buy my own nut key.
Fantastic. I got to say, when I read the poem in my head, it doesn't sound as good as when you read it out loud.
Very sweet of you. And I was reading it and I was like, oh, actually, you would not have the same context of history with the Spanish Inquisition and all that, would you, with the witch hunts?
No, I mean,
any of that meant nothing, didn't it?
well, we don't worry, we had our own witch hunts over in the colonies too. I think anywhere where you had women, you had witch hunts in the old days,
yeah,
sadly,
okay,
right?
Good.
But yeah, we didn't have the Spanish. I can see you just in a coffee shop reading your poetry to a bunch of climbers drinking cheap wine and making that as a second career there.
Yeah, I've done a bit of that.
Yeah, live performance, live reading. Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I do actually. I don't enjoy the organization like
Right.
that. I hate that. But because I was a musician for a while as well.
Right. What instrument?
Well, I played guitar, but I basically play guitar to accompany my words. I'm
Right.
I'm a lyricist. So yeah, I brought out a couple of albums. Again, pretty low key, lo-fi. But yeah, so did a lot of performing at one point. So I like doing doing talks, doing readings, doing stuff. I like doing multimedia stuff, as you wouldn't at all be surprised, like seeing my book. So I like things where I've got multimedia images and soundscapes, and then reading the poems over soundscapes, and
Yeah.
having doing that is nice.
Yeah, no, you like a mix of a bunch of different stuff, a bunch of different art forms.
I do, and then that comes back to the kind of what's the word? I looked at the book afterwards, and I was like, when you have so many formats, it's like eventually whoever you're talking to, one of them will click with it. Do you know what I mean? If you use different ways of accessing that emotion or that sensation, it just different people will respond to different stuff. So I quite like having it in all those, bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Aspects.
Yeah. Well, I'll chip in, going back a little bit, with my favorite piece of climbing gear.
Yes, please. I'd like to hear that.
It's called the bat hook. Are you familiar with it?
Oh,
it's an aid climbing piece, but I found out you could use it anytime and get over parts of the climb that you can't do.
That sounds. Is that the same thing as a sky hook?
Yeah, it is. The bat hook is the one that has 3. It almost looks like a ninja star.
It looks. I've never ever used a sky/bat hook. I think I've never climbed anything hard enough or frightening enough. But it sounds amazing.
Or maybe you're too talented of a climber. But yeah,
I don't think so.
I definitely. There's a real satisfaction in just pulling out your bat hook and getting over something that you don't have the physical or skill level to achieve.
No, and the bat hooks, they're not even on anything. They're not fixed in particularly, are they?
No, they just hook on a small ledge or a little crimp.
On. So it's a complete exercise in trust. I'm saying this completely theoretically because I haven't used them.
Yeah, no,
but
it is.
Yeah,
But I mean,
exercise and
you can
trust.
tell when a piece of gear is bomber, right?
Yeah, when that wobbly piece of tin is going to hold your whole body
I
weight.
don't know. I don't even know. I might even be in trouble. People might light me up on the internet for talking about using aid gear on free climbs. I don't know what's going to happen, but you know what I
You're
think?
going to get it next, you know.
I do know it will. Whatever I get, whatever vitriol I get, won't be as bad as if I was a woman. So I can take solace in that.
There you go. Yeah, you can. You can.
What a stupid world. I also wanted to ask you, you know, because there's a good section of your book about food, which I found really interesting, and how people are breaking apart food into the components of protein, carbs, and how it's probably just a big marketing shill. But what's your go-to Craig snack for a day climbing?
The classic in the UK is something called malt loaf. Do you have that?
No.
No. So basically, when you open a Cliff Bar, you'll have Cliff Bars, right?
We do have those, yes.
When you open a Cliff Bar, it's just this solid lump of brown goop pressed together. So malt loaf, it starts off as like a fruit loaf, a cakey thing, but obviously by the time it comes out from the bottom of your rucksack,
right, it's had
glued together and looks like the
heat and or pressure applied, just like a rock would form.
Yeah, exactly, and it sort of has quite, the it has the rucksack tolerance and probably quite a high calorific value,
right?
And it gums up your mouth, so you have one mouthful and it lasts forever. So it's good value, isn't it?
It sounds like there's not enough protein in it.
You're probably right, actually. Yeah, I need to add some powder quick.
You better get some protein powder in there, or it's not going to be a legitimate snack. No,
I actually eat it with lumps of cheese. Yeah. Now we're talking.
Yeah, over here, I don't know. I can only speak for myself, but if I'm going anywhere, I'm going to take this Landjager sausage, which is like a thick, dense Swiss sausage, I believe, and some cheese, right? Cheese and sausage.
Yeah. So now, pure protein, fat protein.
But also the other thing over here is gorp. Do you guys have that? Good old raisins and peanuts. Trail mix, I guess they call it.
Oh yeah, trail mix is good. Yeah, I go with trail mix.
But
I go trail mix with
gorp.
85% chocolate.
If you want to be Canadian, you just call it gorp, and then then everyone's like, oh yeah, you're in the know.
Was it good old raisins and
peanuts?
Peanuts, gorp.
Yeah, and of course, it needs to have M&Ms and pieces of fruit. Like it's gorp on steroids for sure. But
okay, right. So I do eat gorp. I just hadn't realized I was. I feel a bit sad. My brother hasn't filled me in on this important terminology, but then he's not a climber, so
yeah. Well, I guess we've covered everything I wanted to talk about. Is there any great words of wisdom that you want to leave us with, or any advice to young kids out there about how to make a life that's not a life less ordinary?
Life, just go from the heart, isn't it? Go from the heart. Yeah, hang out with the nice people, go to the beautiful places, and keep centered in their own heart.
Fantastic. So the book is called A Feeling for Rock. Sarah Jane Dobner. How do people find this book?
They can find it on my website, which is dob / A Feeling for Rock. And I know they sell it at the White Museum in Banff.
Right.
And it's online on appalling, we can't mention them, online book distributors.
Of course. But because of that, I feel like your local bookstore may be able to order it in for you as well.
Exactly. I really hope there is a US distributor now, Wolverine. So I don't know if they distribute to Canada as well. I don't know.
Well,
but I hope so.
I'm gonna put your link in the description of the pod as well. Thank you so much, Sarah Jane, for your time. It's been really nice to finally connect. I'm sorry it took so long, but we got her done.
Yeah, it's been really, really nice having a chat. Thank you for having me on your show.
We'll talk to you soon. Have a great week. I guess it's the week now.
It is the week. Have a beautiful week as well to you.
You too. Bye.
Cheers and bye-bye.
Well, all right. Thanks, Sarah Jane. That was awesome. Make sure you go check out the book. It is called A Feeling for Rock. Sarah Jane published it herself, but it is available on her website, which is dobdob.co.uk. dobdob.co.uk. Thanks to Shirai Rules for the voiceovers off the top of this pod. Thanks to Adrian Gendro for the guitar riffs. Thanks to Jack Wolfskin for stepping up as a partner. And thanks to you, dear listener. Let's not forget that this pod was recorded on the unceded territory of the Squamish Nation. And as always, I encourage everyone to learn more about the land and culture of whatever nations have long held the land you call home, as well as the land of the awesome places you are going. Be sure to check out the regional mags. The winter and fall mags are dropping now. We are going to try and pick up the pace on the frequency of these pods as we roll into ski season. I've got Jeff Holden and Glenn Plake slotted in so far. So y'all come back now, you hear? And until then, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of your gear, and remember to leave the campsite nicer than you found it.